Okay, today what we're going to do is look at object aliases. An alias is really a second name for the same object. So an object can have more than one names. Okay, so let's begin. So I've given you two classes. There's a virus class down here and there is a driver. So you can also download both of these files. I've attached them to the Google Classroom. You can download them, you can compile them, and then you can run the driver to see what happens. But today what we're going to do is we are going to trace through the driver on a sheet of paper and a pencil so you understand exactly what's going on. So let's begin with this virus class down here. The virus class has two variables. It has a name and it has a version. There is a constructor in the virus class that takes in the name and sets the version number to 0. In addition to that, there are two methods. There's a mutate method. And the mutate method updates the version number by 1, so it increases the version number by 1. And there is a toString method. And the toString method is basically used to print out that particular object. This green section of code down here is your driver, and you know it's a driver because it has the main method. We are going to trace through this to see what happens. So if you want to pause the video right now, get your sheet of paper out, go through these lines of code and see what you come up with. Okay, so hopefully you've traced it through. Let's compare your answer to mine. Line 1 of your driver creates two pointers. It creates a James pointer and a Bond pointer. These pointers will be used to point to objects, but right now they're set to null because we have not created our objects. They will be pointing to virus objects because, as it suggests in the code, they are virus pointers. Next line of code. The next line of code says James is equal to new virus. So at this point in time, a new object is created, and you'll notice that the object is created and James is pointing to that object. If you look inside the object, there are two variables. It has a corona and the version number is 0. Okay, sorry. The third line of code. In the third line of code, it sets the bond to equal James. So it takes the bond pointer and it points it to what James is pointing to. So bond and James are both pointing to the same object. So this is something new. We've not looked at this before. By doing bond is equal to James, we've created an alias. So two pointers are pointing to the same object. Okay, next, it says bond.mutate. So it takes whatever object bond is pointing to and mutates it. And you know that the mutate adds 1 to the version number. So our new version number is now 1. It used to be 0 and now it's 1. It prints out the James object. So it looks at the James object and it prints out Corona 1. And then it prints out the bond object, which is also the same object, which prints out Corona 1. And that's really how aliases work. The main thing that you need to pay attention to is this line of code, your bond is equal to James. And that's really what creates the alias.